Am I the asshole for not performing at my ex-friend's wedding?
A friend of mine of nearly 10 years recently got engaged and started planning a wedding for summer of 2025.
She asked me to be her bridesmaid at the wedding and I happily said yes.
When planning the wedding, I asked if they would prefer a traditional wedding gift, or would they want some assistance with the wedding.
I am a singer at a wedding band, and we have performed for free for friends and family before, and we offered to play a set in exchange for food. She was very excited about the idea.
However, at the engagement party, I got into a huge fight with the fiancé.
To the point in which my friend kicked me out of the wedding party. And later the entire wedding. It's fine.
I couldn't pretend to be happy for them at the wedding. It's their day. If they don't want me there, it's okay.
I however assumed that since I am no longer welcome at the wedding, I am not required to give a gift either. My former friend, her words, insisted that since they had booked us, we are required to perform at her wedding. For free. I told her that we only perform for free for friends and family, and even they pay for accommodation and travel as well as provide us with food at the event. If she wants us to perform, it'll be the standard fee since we are not friends. We have an opening to take the wedding, but we are not doing for free. Since that she has mouthed us to all our mutual friends. They think that in order to keep the peace, we should just do it, as we had promised. Am I the asshole here for not wanting to give an expensive value gift to someone who no longer considers me to be her friend? Not the asshole.
You're absolutely justified in not wanting to perform at the wedding for free, especially after being kicked out of the wedding party and the entire event. Your offer to perform was based on the premise that you were friends, but now that the relationship has clearly changed, there's no reason to provide your professional services for free. It's unreasonable for your ex-friend to expect you to honor the original agreement after she's made it clear you're no longer welcome in her life. It's also unfair for your mutual friends to pressure you into doing something that would likely make you feel taken advantage of. You have every right to charge your standard fee if she wants your band to perform.
The agreement to perform was based on a friendship that has since ended. Not the asshole. Point blank, don't do it. You help friends and family, she is neither of those. There is no contract, so tough shit for her. By the way, in order to keep the peace, is for people pleaser and a doormat phrase. Like you will be the doormat. Don't do it. Info. What was the fight about and who started it? Not the asshole. She kicked you out of the wedding. Should you perform from outside? You can offer them a reduced price, to keep the peace.
But honestly, if this friend unfriend you, I wouldn't want to go to their wedding to perform. Not even for double of the standard price. And please ask your mutual friends what piece that should be kept when the friendship is over? Why would your friend want you as part of her wedding band in her wedding pictures? Would she want someone her fiancé is mad about, really as a musician at the wedding? Or does she thinks that wedding band are just NPCs standing in a corner and are only there to perform? Lika, a human-formed computer? Tell your ex-friend that you are canceling her non-existent contract with your band and returning her $0 deposit. Send that via text and stop engaging with her about it. She has a whole year to find an alternative. It is ludicrous of her to think you would still do that for her, much less for free. Not the asshole, who in their right mind would even ask an ex-friend to perform at their wedding? I was thinking that I was reading a petty revenge story, and you made a shit show at their wedding. Never give a microphone to someone you just unfriended. Am I the asshole for not apologizing to my friend after she screamed at me and my kid at her wedding? Obligatory, this is a throwaway. 2 weeks ago, I, F29, hubby, M31, and son, M4, attended my BFF's, F28, wedding. It was a beautiful ceremony, and everything was going great, until BFF and her husband cut the cake. Important context. BFF did speak to me during her wedding planning about being unsure on whether or not to allow kids at her wedding. Her 2 sisters both have kids around son's age, and she sees him as her nephew, too. But she wanted to be able to let loose and enjoy her wedding without worrying about any kids messing things up. I gave her my opinion, saying me and hubby allowed kids at our wedding and wouldn't have it any other way. The kids were still family and deserved to be included. After that, and speaking with her sisters, she and her husband okayed kids for the wedding. Now, the ceremony went swimmingly. BFF's nieces sat with me, hubby, and son, as her sisters were in the bridal party.
I brought quiet activities to keep them entertained and everybody behaved. I even cried from how lovely it was.
When we got to the reception, nieces were returned to their parents, so it was now just me, hubby, and son. Dinner went fine, and then the couple took to the dance floor for their first dance. Afterwards, everybody was welcomed to the floor to dance for a bit before cake cutting. At this point, the kids were running around and playing with each other, and it was a fairly secure space and I knew almost everybody there, so I felt comfortable with son playing with the other kids while hubby and I had fun dancing. Important to mention now, hubby offered to DD so I could enjoy myself, so I had had a couple glasses of wine at this point. BFF had also been drinking and celebrating. BFF and her husband go to do cake cutting, and hubby and I are a little slow getting there, so there was a crowd blocking our view. Suddenly, I hear BFF scream son's name.
Hubby and I push forward to see what's wrong. I see my son with frosting around his mouth and on his fingers.
The cake had a small chunk taken out of it.
I try to apologize, but BFF turns around and yells, "This is your fault. Your son ruined my cake. He's only here because you told me it would be worth it to include the kids." I yelled back, telling her that it was just an accident and the rest of the cake was still edible. That this was her nephew she was screaming about. She told me I was no friend of hers and he wasn't her nephew, in front of everyone. She told me to leave or she'd call security. Son and I were crying ATP and the three of us left. One of the bride's sisters reached out to me after and apologized for her sister's reaction, but said I needed to apologize. I think sorries are out the window now after her outburst. I told her sister so and said I expect an apology first before I'd say anything to her. Not only did she blow up at me in front of everyone, but at my son. I'm humiliated but even more angry on his behalf.
So, am I the asshole if I refuse to apologize first?
You are the asshole. Your child is very young and in need of supervision.
It doesn't matter how secure the location is. There are a lot of things that are not secure, like cake, glasses, etc., in the venue. Not only should you apologize, you should have apologized right then and there instead of reacting with, "The rest of the cake is still edible, because gross."
I doubt your kid had washed his hands in a while, and it was an accident. It wasn't an accident. Your kid is young so it wasn't malicious but it certainly wasn't an accident. You also need to pay at least part of the cost of the cake because that tier was not edible. You are the asshole. Your son taking a big bite out of the wedding cake wasn't an accident. He did it because he wanted some cake and didn't want to wait. He's 4, but you could have told him not to touch the cake. This would have been avoided if you'd been supervising him properly. You do need to apologize to your friend for being neglectful to the point where your son ruined the wedding cake. Parents like you who let their kids run rampant then don't take real responsibility are the reason so many people don't want kids at events like this. You are the asshole. She allowed kids based on your assurance that having kids at the wedding would be okay. It's most especially egregious when the one person who said kids deserved to be included to be the one whose kid fucked over her wedding celebration. It is a big deal. It is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Hopefully she is not getting a second wedding. You're an asshole for not watching your kids after blabbering how they should have kids at the wedding. And doubly so for not apologizing. Info: I guess I'm not sure I understand why you weren't watching your son at all? I get that you knew most of the people there and trusted them. That's awesome. But this was still a big party with alcohol and, I would assume, readily accessible exits. Your son is a toddler and there are a lot of ways for a child that young to get hurt or cause trouble even in a room full of people you know. You didn't even know where he was at the point that this happened. That strikes me as really weird, especially since you were so intent on having him there in the first place. You are the asshole to a raging degree, and surely you know that. Not because you advocated having kids at the wedding but because you weren't even vaguely aware of what your son was doing. Your son did ruin their cake. How you responded made you double the asshole, and then refusing to apologize made you triple ta. I'm so sorry your son has a parent as irresponsible and such a bad role model as you. You are the asshole. Watch your kids. She didn't want kids at her wedding, but you convinced her it would be okay. Then let your kid take a chunk out of her wedding cake. You do owe her an apology. Maybe next time, let people have events the way they want them. Am I the asshole for standing my ground and not letting my suite mate take my dorm room? For context, our college randomly assigns suites and rooms to students that apply for dorming. It is not chosen by the students, only the buildings and who they wish to room with. I, 19Y0 male, am moving to college in the fall. I am in the process of getting to know my suite mates and roommates since I chose to do random assignment because I had applied late to college and everyone already chose roommates. I had to go with first bed open. After I had been assigned a room, my actual roommate added me and we began talking. However, he soon blocked me and I could no longer contact him. A week after this happened, my suite mates got in contact with me. They added me and we talked. They then asked me if I happened to know my roommate since he was the only one they hadn't talked with yet. I said yes, but after we talked a bit he blocked me. We then all had the assumption that he would no longer be dorming with us, hence the need to block me on Instagram. So after much discussion, that's the best answer we could come up with as to why he did so. I thought that was the end of that discussion, but it seems I would be wrong. One of my suite mates, let's name him Phineas, would later tell us that we should vote on who got the room. I, being confused, asked him why since I got the room fair and square by it being assigned to me. He said that he wasn't aware that the rooms were assigned and that even if they were, we should vote on who gets it anyways since he wanted it. I told him no for a second time and wanted to be over with it. He then told me that he had a girlfriend and that I could understand, right? No. I get that she's going to visit every now and then and that it would be nice to have some privacy, especially if they were going to do spicy things, but I already told him that I wanted the room since it was assigned to me and that if he wanted a single he should have booked a single. He keeps pushing the matter when I shut him down every time. I told him that if he continues to talk about it, I would go to RA and get in contact with the school about the whole situation and how Phineas wanted to violate explicit rules and guidelines of living in the dorms. For more context, our college does not allow the opposite sex to enter the bedrooms of the student and may only stay in the common area with the suite door open to the hallway. This was a strict rule that even adheres to parents and family. The guy called me a dick and said that I don't even need it since I am single and would never understand it. My other suite mate, gonna name him Ferb for the memes, thinks we should see who needs the room more and give it to them. I think that it rightfully belongs to me since I was assigned the room and bed, and that if I got so lucky that I didn't have a roommate anymore, then that was my luck and not theirs. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. That's the room the college assigned. Also, don't ever switch rooms without involving the RA or your college's housing department. That's the room you stay in on file, so whatever happens in that room, damage, overstaying guests, alcohol, drugs, etc., could be on you. Info. Surely if your roommate has dropped out, the RA should be informed so that the spare bed can be reassigned to whoever is next on the list, just like you were. After all, it's not like you're partway through the semester yet. Why are you not doing that? There is no way they are going to leave that room open and you without a roommate. But more importantly, there are all sorts of logistics that would be screwy if you switched rooms without clearance from university housing. Get the dorm hall director to shut it down on your behalf. This is not a democracy. This is a situation with a couple of students who have no idea how the world works. Get help. Not the asshole. Shut it down now. A universal college experience. Meeting all of those now adult children who are absolutely shocked that they can't always get their own way in the outside world. It's your room. End of discussion. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You are quite right. If your suite mate wants a room with privacy, then he better have something to trade for the room with privacy. I want isn't a reason. You want, too. It's more than possible you'll find somebody to hook up with. Or to play D&D with. Or you'll use the extra space to practice breakdancing. Don't miss the kangaroo move. There is no reason on earth that Phineas deserves the room. Don't count your beds before they're filled. You don't know why your assigned roommate ghosted you, and you don't know whether the college has reassigned his bed. Make sure that you get there the instant anyone is able to get into the dorm, and before him. Am I the asshole for not fixing my wife's mom guilt? My wife, 33F, and I, 35M, have been married for 4 years and have 2 sons, 3 and 1. With 2 young kids and both of us working full-time, we obviously don't get a lot of time for ourselves and even less for the 2 of us as a couple.
We've had maybe 2 dates since our youngest was born. My wife has at least been able to attend a couple of her friends' weddings, but I haven't had social time just for myself in probably 6 months. My wife has been lamenting our lack of social lives and asked me to plan something for us to do as a couple because she doesn't have the mental energy for it. A few weeks ago I saw that one of her favorite bands is playing a show in a town we used to live in before we got married. We still have friends there, so I reached out to them to see if they would want to attend the show with us. They agreed and even offered for my wife and I to stay with them for a night so we wouldn't have to drive home after the show. I told my wife about it, and instead of being happy or excited, she immediately went off about how we have no one to watch the kids, we've never both been away from them for a night, etc. I told her that I had already asked my parents to come stay with the kids for a night and they were excited for it. But my wife kept going off about how our kids haven't been sleeping well, what if X, Y, or Z happens, etc. I did my best to calm her down and asked her if I should just cancel the whole thing because it doesn't sound like she's on board with my idea. She said she wants to do it, but she's just worried about leaving the kids for a night. I told her that this plan is literally exactly what she asked me to do, but if she doesn't want to do it, then we can cancel. She again said she didn't want to cancel. Well, the concert was this past Saturday. My parents arrived Friday so that they could have a night with us and the kids at home to get familiar with our routine. Everything went fine that night. But, the next day as we were getting things packed up and ready to go, my wife became hesitant. Instead of packing, she was running around asking my mom and dad a bunch of questions related to the kids. I tried to get her to focus on the concert and seeing friends, but I couldn't do it. Eventually, I asked her if she still wanted to go. She said she wasn't sure. She told me she was feeling guilty about leaving the kids overnight. I told her that we both need to have time for us to behave like adults, and this is our chance. She then told me that I should just go by myself because she doesn't think she will enjoy herself. So, that's what I did. I went and saw friends and spent the night and had a great time. When I got home the next day, my wife was upset with me. She told me she didn't think I would actually go without her. She said having my parents there without me was uncomfortable for her. She told me I should have done more to soothe her mom guilt, so that she could have gone with. Not the asshole. I was prepared to go another way, but you did exactly what she asked of you and you facilitated the obstacles by finding free lodging and safe kid care. The only work left for her was the mental work to go, and her choice was not to. While it was her right not to go, she can't be angry that you did. There was no reason that required you both miss the concert. Not the asshole. I told her that we both need to have time for us to behave like adults, and this is our chance. You did exactly what she asked you to and planned something. She then told me that I should just go by myself. Which you did. She told me she didn't think I would actually go without her. Why? You aren't a mind reader. The babysitting arrangements were adequate. She needs to address her process and anxieties around this issue. Not the asshole in any form. She asked you to plan something. You took her at her word and did it. She gets mad. She tells you to go by yourself. You took her at her word and did it. She gets mad. She refuses to let go of her mental load after you've gone above and beyond to handle it. Somehow it's still your fault and she gets mad. She needs to learn big kids' words and actually communicate what she wants or learn to let things go. If it's because she likes playing these games, then buy her a fucking Xbox. That's classic, and the cure for it is for her to get out of the house and have fun. Then she'll discover it's all fine. If it doesn't, or she really can't, she definitely needs therapy. This isn't okay for her, it's terrible for your marriage, and surprisingly enough, it's likely to make her a bad mother. A parent who hovers around and won't even go out of town for one night can get enmeshed, or unintentionally weaken kids' independence, make them resent her, or end up resenting them. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. She said she wants to do it, but she's just worried about leaving the kids for a night. This internal conflict is 100% hers to resolve for herself. Not the asshole, but I'd talk to your wife about seeing her doctor for postpartum anxiety, because her asking your parents a dozen questions isn't guilt, it's worry. It can stay around for a long time, not just directly after birth, and she likely needs a professional to tell her it's real and there are things she can do to get better.